While the harvesting and clearing still continues, before the weather turns, there's still plenty that I need to do. So having already cleared this area of all those thornless blackberries which had just gone absolutely mad, as I said before, these posts are staying here because I'm still going fruity, but this time I'm actually going with my fruit tree. So I have this beautiful pear and I also have an apple. Now I actually received these earlier in the year, so it's around April, May time, when they were bare roots. Now unfortunately that was just the wrong time of year to be getting them in the ground, so what I did is I healed them into these pots so that at this time of the year I could get them in the ground. Now you can, if you are getting your bare roots trees, your fruit trees, you're looking at sort of around November to March to be getting those in the ground. And the way that you do those is quite different, because what you'll need to do is actually soak the roots before you plant them. Now because these are already in pots, they've already had that treatment, so I will need to water them in really deeply when they go in the ground, but not just yet. However, one of my pots did fall over. It just got top heavy with the wind. It broke one of my really nice pots which was in the back garden, but it does mean it needs to go in the ground, because otherwise it's just open to the elements and that's asking for trouble. Now when it comes to allotments, we're not technically, on this allotment anyway, supposed to have fruit trees, although there is on the other side of my hedge a community orchard, and I know that one of the other plot holders does have fruit trees. However, the reason for it is because obviously they get too big, then if you give up the allotment it's quite difficult to actually move them. But what I'm going to do with these is I am going to keep them small, and this is why the posts are still here, because they are going to get espaliered. So the first thing I needed to do really is figure out my spacing, where they're going to go, because if they're going to be going horizontally they need to have enough space, and actually there's enough space here for 2 trees. So having done that, the next obvious thing is I need to dig a hole. Now these are not particularly huge roots because they were bare roots, as I say, sort of April, May time, and then when I've done, healed them in. So there's a little bit of root system going on there, but not a massive amount. What I'm seeing as I'm digging down here is an awful lot of couch grass, so that's going to have to come out before I plant this in the ground, because actually it's just going to cause a lot of really big trouble for me later on. But what I'm going to do is dig down about the size of the root system which I have created here, nice and wide, and then once I've got this sorted and some of those weeds out of the ground, I'm going to prepare this for actually planting my fruit tree. In the meantime, it's a bit of a hands and knees job, this. So now that's done, it's a lot clearer and I'm not setting myself up to fail. What I am going to do in the bottom of this hole is I'm going to put some of my chicken manure. Now we don't normally need to do this at this time of the year. It's usually sort of around January, February time. We may put some chicken manure around the top of our fruit bushes, but I'm just going to give these a little bit more energy because they have been in these pots for about 6 months, and even the apple had some fruit on it. And I have to say I did actually have a little nibble, really good, really tasty. So all I'm going to do is just take this one out of its pot and I'm going to loosen up this root system here, and quite often I do see people putting plants in the ground without loosening up the roots, and you know what, you could just end up compacting your roots rather than encouraging them to actually spread out. So this is quite an important step not to miss. So once I've actually done that, I'm just going to position it. Now, because I'm going to espalier this, I need to think about where the main stems are on this tree. I'm not going to be pruning it at this time of year, certainly not because they are going new into the ground, and actually they're going to maybe be in a little bit of shock as it is, so I'm not going to prune this until next year, which is a bit tricky considering I do want to espalier them, but it means I'm going to have to be really quite harsh. I'm pretty strong when I do actually bravely prune off maybe this one at the front, which I don't really need. It's these side shoots which I'm going to be looking for, and obviously I'm going to have to redo my wires and my espalier as to where those branches actually fall off of this plant. Now it does look as if there is sort of possible grafting that's gone on here, because there's this little sort of bulbous bit on the main trunk here, and I don't want that to be under the ground, so where my level is, I'm making sure that it's just over the top. So I am just going to put some of this soil back in around the base of the plant, trying not to include all that couch grass as well. I'm just going to really bed it in, and I want to make sure that it is in line with these posts rather than being in front of them. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put a bit of fresh compost, nice peat free, around it as well, and this is just going to help it get some of those nice fresh nutrients into the root system of these freshly planted trees. So I just need to do the pear next, making sure that that is actually upright, and then they're going to get a really good watering in. Once they're watered in, I'm going to do something else which is also going to help to protect these as we head into those winter months. So now that I have actually planted my trees, got rid of all of those weeds as well, I have well and truly watered them in and just allowed that water to seep down into the root system. I've also replaced the lavender which I had here, and I'm pretty sure that before I had the head coat, which is absolutely beautiful, smells amazing, and obviously attracts those pollinators. And I've replaced it with Munstead. Now Munstead does exactly the same. It's going to attract those pollinators, which is vital for my fruit area, but I can actually make tea out of it. So I'm getting a bit of a double bubble with these ones, and hopefully they're going to really take off as well. Now the next thing I need to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm protecting this area and trying to stop any of those weeds finding the light, and I'm going to do that with my wood chip. Now it is decorative bark, but actually it does exactly the same job, and I'm just going to put this all around this area. Now what I need to make sure that I'm doing as I do this is that I'm not actually going to put them around the base of my trees, because otherwise they could get too wet and that could actually result in them getting a bit rotten and just dying on me. So definitely where I've got those grafts, and I'm pretty certain they're grafts, they do look like it, I'm going to avoid that area and just put it around and cover the ground everywhere else. Now the lavender is going to be a little bit more forgiving with this, but again I'm not going to go right to the base of the plants and the actual root system, because I want them to thrive and stay alive. But this will actually add that extra bit of frost protection, because we know that weather is certainly going to be turning very soon.